Hey everybody, and welcome. You are looking at the dashboard or the home screen of FreshBooks. You have just joined the Getting Started for New Users, specifically for FreshBooks Classic. So there are two different versions of FreshBooks out there. There's the new FreshBooks and there's FreshBooks Classic. If your screen looks different from what you're seeing right now when you log into your FreshBooks account, you are probably using the new version of FreshBooks. Today, we're just going to be going over FreshBooks Classic. So if you want to get a demo or join us to learn more about the new FreshBooks, you can give us a call at 1-866-303-6061, or you can email us at support@freshbooks.com. We also have a regular weekly webinar on Thursdays, and you can go to freshbooks.com/webinars to sign up for the live version of that, or you can also find the recordings of our past webinars on there as well. So going forward, ta-da, this is a FreshBooks Classic account. It is brand new, although as you can see, there's a little bit of activity here. The home page is designed to give you a snapshot of how your business is doing, what you're spending money on, who's viewed your invoices, that sort of thing. As you can see, I've got some fake clients and fake invoices and all that sort of thing in here. To start off though, if you are brand new to FreshBooks, you probably see this friendly blue color. Every brand new account starts with the same color scheme, that sort of thing. For personal branding purposes, if you want to put your logo on or if you want to change the color, you can do that right here. So you can click right on, upload your logo. You can browse, you can customize your color. I am going to add my logo here. And the nice thing about our system here is, yeah, you can see it instantly changed the color scheme. So it read the colors I have in my logo and it changed it to match. Although of course, if you want, say your logo is blue and you want your background to be red, all up to you. You can do as you like there. But if we go back, you can see everything's changed. And this little logo here will not only appear on your FreshBooks account, it will also appear on any invoice that you send out as well. So all of that will be, poof, magically appear for you. Going along from there, on this home tab, this is your overview. So this is a snapshot of everything on your account. You can also go to pricing and upgrade if you're going to upgrade to a paid plan. This is also where you can recommend FreshBooks to friends and also buy stamps. There is an ability to mail stamps out, physically mail them out to your clients, invoices, estimates, that sort of thing. If you need to do that, here's where you would go to buy stamps. For the time being though, let's chug right along. Right beside that, you'll find people. And this is where you want to go first. When you are making your very first invoice or something for a client, of course, you have to have a client. So here's all my fake people that I've made over time. You can see it's organized by name, by their contact, when they last logged in to view your invoices. And if you click on these little headers here, you can reorder them. So say I want to reorder it by contact, alphabetically. Or maybe I want to reorganize it by organization, by letter. So we've got opposite here, so W, T, N is in opposite alphabetical. If you'd like an actual alphabetical order, you can click on that again. So if you are making your brand new first client, you'll want to go here, click on New Client. And here there's a bunch of different fields. So the only mandatory field on a client is the email address. So you got to put something in the space. My favorite fake email is, of course, fake@fake.fake. If I've got an organization name, like perhaps Girl Guides of Canada, there we go, fake email address, and I love Girl Guides, used to be one myself. You can then do a couple of settings for the Girl Guides of Canada. So, of course, they're in Canada. I'm going to set their currency to be Canadian dollars, although, say, perhaps they're somewhere else in the world. You have any number of different currencies you can bill these people in. You can also, I'm going to hit cancel there, determine the language. So it defaults to being English because that's the default for my business. I said I'm in Canada and I speak English, but of course we have a number of different languages for our clients. So say Girl Guides of Canada, they're actually in Quebec, so we could make our invoices in such French for them. We also have the option to set up reminders. So this is a great feature that we'll go into a little bit more detail later. But when you make an invoice for people, you can enable late payment reminders so that if they haven't paid you after a week or 2 weeks or that sort of thing, FreshBooks will automatically send them out email. In addition to that, same thing, late fees, you can enable that right here and say, this person tends to be late. I know the Girl Guides of Canada, they tend to be a little bit forgetful. So you can also add late payment fees in case they don't pay your invoices on time. Moving on down, you can put in a contact name for our fake client here. And if there are any other contacts, if you have multiple contacts at the same organization, you can add more and more. And again, for each person, each contact, the only mandatory field is an email address. And yes, I'm sure I want to delete this contact, nobody there. In addition to that, for your clients, you can put in address information, you can put in industry information, any internal notes. Anything you write in this space, they're not going to see. So this is where you can keep, say they have a secondary address that you need to put on there, or maybe just, details, PO numbers, that sort of thing. Once you're done that, you can hit save, and they're all updated. They are now going to be on your client list. So right there, Gigi, Girl Guides of Canada. Everything's in alphabetical order. Now, in case you ever need to do so, you can archive and delete clients. And so you can find those files down here, click on archived. You can see all the people that you've archived over time. Alternatively, there's also the deleted folder. In FreshBooks, delete rarely means delete. What it really means is inactive. So these people in this folder, they're not gone. Any invoices I made for these people, any projects that I track time to, still on my account, but I cannot make new projects or new invoices for Batman or for Bob or for ABC Corp. If these people do come back to work for me in the future, if I'm doing work for Batman again, I can check the box beside their name and undelete them. And that will bring them back to my active folder. So why I would want to delete someone is in FreshBooks, there's various different plans that we have, and they're all based on how many clients you have. So if you're, for example, at this point in time, we have a plan called Light. It's $15 a month for up to 5 clients. And so if I have my 5 clients, I want to add my 6th person, and there's somebody on my list that I'm not working with anymore, I can check a box beside Batman's name, I can delete them, that frees up space on my list, and I can add that next client. So that is clients right there. If you go on right beside it, you have staff and contractors. So here you can see I've got 2 different people. There's staff and there's contractors. And admin, that's me. So the difference between the two is if you click on the new team member button, there's a bit of a breakdown of what the different sorts of people do. So contractors can only do one thing. So you send them an invitation, they get their own independent FreshBooks account, and they can track time to your projects, and they can invoice you for their time. And that is it. They can work for you, and that's it. So they don't have access to your FreshBooks account. A staff member, on the other hand, will receive an email invitation, and they will get their own login to this FreshBooks account. So they have access to your account, and they can do, here's a short list of all the things that they can do on your account. You can filter that. There's a place where you can set up permissions. And so you can filter what they can see and what they can't see. But for the time being, that is the difference between the 2 people. And the same rules apply. So if you find you got a couple staff members who don't work for you anymore, you can check the box beside their name, you can delete them, and away they go. Their work doesn't disappear, they just don't have access to your account anymore. Over here, you have an accountant, and so if you ever want to share your books with a bookkeeper or something like that, you can invite your accountant. They get their own login to a separate area where all they have access to are your reports. And it doesn't cost anything. Accountants are free, but they can just run your profit and loss report, your expense report, help you do your books. Moving right along, invoices. So this is where things get juicy. We've now made a person, and of course, the reason why you make a person is because you want to invoice them, you want to get paid. So you'll want to go to New Invoice. Right here, you can select a person. So let's say I'm going to invoice FreshBooks. Why not? So right there, you can see right off the bat, I've already set up a few things for them. One, my currency, the language, I want reminders for them. All of that pops up right underneath. Invoice number, this builds off of whatever my past invoice was. So the first time you make an invoice, it might be 000001. The next time you make an invoice, it'll be 2, it'll be 3, it'll be 4, etc. So I've made quite a few invoices. And then date of issue will always default to being today. So if you prefer it to be a different day, you can always click on this, say, oops, I got behind on my invoicing, click on a new date, and away you go. Over here, send to, You should see all the contacts for your client. If you have multiple, then you have the opportunity to check a box beside their name. If there's only the one, as in this case, they'll just be automatically checked off. And then, as you can see, for this person, I never put in a mailing address. So it's just going to be blank. If you do want to add one in, you can do that right then and there. Now, to fill out your invoice, you can click on Task. And if you've already made some tasks, if you've already invoiced a few people, you'll see your list here. Otherwise, you can click on New Task, create something, and put in a rate. So this will become your default rate. I can save it. And you can always edit that. If, say, you make an invoice for someone else and you've got a different rate for them, you can always put a new amount in and say, okay, for this person, it's actually $40. I worked for 2 hours, and away you go. And FreshBooks will calculate that. You also have the option to add taxes. So as you can see, I've got a few made up over time. You can hit edit and you can either change your invoice numbers, the amount, the name, or you can add in a new one. So in this case, I'm not going to change anything. I am going to charge taxes though, HST. And again, right there, HST, it even shows the percentage. If you had a tax number, that would appear on here as well. You also have the option, so tasks is one way you can bill for your time. So time entry notes, tasks, rate. The other option is items. So if you sell objects, you might want to use this option instead, item. And let's say cable drop. I'm selling cable drops. And they each cost $110. I sold 3 of them, and there you go. So everything is calculated over here. If this is for a friend of mine, or you're offering a promotion, you can put on a discount, and that will calculate right here, discount across the board for everything on your invoice. You can also request a deposit. So that could be, hey, before I come over with these cables and I do a new task, I would like 50% upfront. And there's our deposit. So here, default terms, this is where you can put in, whatever the defaults are for your business. Perhaps it's net 30, you expect to be paid in 30 days. Maybe you have some cancellation terms that you need to put in there. You can set default terms right here. So this will be reused on this invoice and every future invoice. So I'm not going to put in a message here. I kind of like the whole I like working with you. This is where you can also set up the late payment fees. So I enabled that. And here is also where I can say, okay, how much is the fee going to be? How frequently is it going to be put on? So I want it to be a percentage 30 days after the invoice date. So FreshBooks doesn't have a due date on the invoices, it's the invoice date. So remember, I made my invoice date July 1st. This will apply 30 days after that day. So the fee is going to be, let's make it 10% because I don't like it when people are late. I have to charge tax on my services. And you can make it compound. So instead of just putting it once, you apply it every 30 days. So let's hit save. And then the notes area here, this is unique to each invoice. So it's not going to repeat like the default terms do. This is just for your person. So you can say, and there you go. So down here at the bottom, you can save it as a draft if you're still working on this. You can send it right then and there, sent by email. Or, I mentioned before, there's stamps you can send by snail mail. So I'm going to actually send this by mail right now. And you'll see a preview. So this is my business address. I'll show you where to set that up a little bit later. Here's my logo. Here's the invoice itself. And then I can customize the message as well if I like. So it's thinking about it. It's sending. Sends out, you can see the full list of all the contacts he sent it out to. And then if you want to view the invoice, here's what it looks like. And there's my terms. At the very bottom, you see the invoice autobiography where you can see when I made it, what the amount was, who I sent it out to, and when. So you've got days and times right over here. And then this banner up at the top, you can see it says sent. As invoices get paid or changed or that sort of thing, this banner will update. And if you look at the invoices list, you got the status. So you've got paid, you have sent, I've got a lot of sent, and you have a full legend at the bottom here. So there's disputed, people may talk back and say on the invoice, actually, I think it was this much or this sort of thing. Partial payments, that's where the deposits come in. Declined, if somebody's trying to pay you online and the card didn't go through, it'll show as declined. And so all of these will show up in the status bar over here. So in this line here, what you can see is, again, you have these little boxes. You can check these invoices and say once they get paid, you don't want to see them again. I'm going to do that with my paid invoice there. I'm going to archive it because I don't need this in my active list. It's okay. It's done. You can also delete invoices in case it was sent out by mistake. You don't need it after all. Hit delete and away you go. You can also copy. So if you say, you know, I make the same kind of invoice a lot, I'm just going to do this again. Hit copy. You'll get an exact copy, new invoice number of that invoice. And away you go. You can also enter a payment or pay online. So that's an interesting option. Let's try that. So enter a payment means somebody gave me a check, somebody sent me bank transfer, cash, something like that. Let's say they pay me in cash. They paid me yesterday. And if I want, I can send them a payment notification email saying, hey, thanks for paying me. And away you go. Yes, I got paid. And there you go. So now that status update right there, I've been paid, always a nice feeling. And if I go back to my Invoices tab, you'll notice, hey, look, it's paid now. Another option is to pay online, and I'll show you where you can set that up over in settings. If you have PayPal or if you want to use a payment gateway like WePay or Stripe or something like that, your clients can pay by credit card. And so you have that button there where if they're present with you and they have their credit card ready, you guys can enter that together. So another option you have over here, recurring, same basic setup, although take a look. The only difference is the layout is the same, everything is calculated the same way. You now have a schedule. So what that means is you're making an invoice for something that you are getting paid for regularly. So say you have a rental property and you're charging somebody rent, you want an invoice to go out automatically on the 1st of every month. Let's say this is a 12-month lease for ABC Core. I want this to go out by email. And yes, I would like to enable online payments. And so I would set that up here. It will go off on the schedule. So as soon as I hit save, nothing's going to happen. No invoice is going to go out until that start date of August 1st. And then once they get that, they'll see a pay online button. They can pay me by PayPal. Or what this little circle thing off to the side means, if I check that and they put in their credit card, they'll see the option to save their credit card. And so that means every single month, the card is saved on file. Every time this invoice is generated, it will automatically charge their credit card. And so you automatically get paid on the 1st of every month, which is a really nice option. So there you go. And then here on the recurring, I'm going to leave this now. Recurring page, you can see this is still going. This one stopped. I'm all done with it. This one just ran out. The lease was up. And if you want to, you can delete them, you can archive them, or if you click on this number, you can see all the invoices that were generated from this profile. And there you go. So there's a few other options here. So items, this is where we manage the area, the things that we put on our invoices. So you can see the full list of them here. So when you click on, I want to add an item, this is the list that pops up, and you can always edit it. Maybe, you know, time to update your pricing, click edit, and you can change the cost, what the taxes are, that sort of thing. If you want to see a list of your credits, this is where, say someone prepays you for their services. So you can see this has happened a few times where ABC Core, they gave me a payment towards future invoices. You know, they handed me a check for $500. Woohoo! You could save this and it can be applied towards future invoices. So if we take a look at ABC Core, let's look at their client profile. There's that credit. Obviously, they've used up a little bit of their credit and they've got $240 left. And so that means if I go to one of their invoices, and let's say I want to pay off this invoice. You'll see a couple options right here, available credit, $240. And so I can say, hey, they gave me that $500 check before, let's use some of that towards this invoice. And there you go. And you can see that under payments as well. So you can see asterisks, I paid it, but it came from their credit, and all of the list of any payments that you've received over time here as well. We've already gone recurring in invoices, so let's go over to estimates. And estimates look a lot like invoices. If I click on new estimate, same general layout, same client, same everything. The only difference is this is proposed work. So the layout of the page is going to be very different, very much the same, but the purpose of it is different. So this is a quote. This is a, hey, I'm coming over to your house and I'm going to build a deck. Here's how much I think it's going to cost. And the status is over here. You can see a few of them are different. Accepted. So when they receive this estimate from you, and I'll show you what it looks like. Let's take a look at this one for ABC Core. Looks the same. Your client will have the option to accept it. And if that happens, you can do it on your side, as you can just see. Maybe they give you a phone call, say, hey, that looks great, let's do it. You can accept it. That status will change on the main page. So now you can see number 10 is accepted. You can also convert it to an invoice. So check that button, convert to invoice. Oh, and it looks like I've already made an invoice from there. All right, so we're good. But you get the idea. So you have sent, you have draft, you have accepted. You can also have replied. So say they get the invoice, the estimate from you and say, hey, I think we can make these changes. I want to add some more stairs to my deck. There you go, that's replied, and you can go back and forth. So that is estimates. Moving right along to expenses, this is the other side of FreshBooks. So we've been talking a lot about how do I make money. This is how you track when you spend money. So expenses are, you can see I've got a few different statuses here. Unbilled means that I have spent some money on something for a client and I'm going to bill it back to them, but I haven't quite yet. Recouped means, hey, I put this on an invoice. This client is going to pay me back. Invoiced means the same thing. It's been put on an invoice. Sorry, recouped is you put it on invoice and that invoice has been paid. So that's how that works there. So if you want to make a new expense, click on new expense. This is what you'll see. Let's say you spend $50 on something. And I spent this on the weekend. And you have to categorize it. We've got a whole slew of categories here. Most of them are pre-made, but say you have something in advertising and it doesn't fit under one of these categories. You can make your own subcategory. So in this case, let's call it Google advertising. Perhaps I spent some money on online advertising this time. So I'm done. I've made my category. It's Google advertising. You can put some notes if you like. And vendor. So our vendor is Google. And to make a new vendor, you just start typing. And then these little boxes underneath, these are all options. So say Google charge me taxes. I can check that box and say, okay, Google charged me HST. It'll auto-calculate that. So out of $50, it's saying $5.75 was HST. It's not adding these things together. It's saying out of $50, we know HST is 13%. 13% is this much. If it's actually, say, just $5, you can edit that. You can't make it more, but you can make it less. From there, you can also make it recurring. So say this is Google advertising that I'm going to do every month forever. Like this is ongoing. I think I'm just going to spend this money all the time. Maybe I'm just going to do it for 3 months. So I'm going to do this until October. You can do that. You can also assign this to a client. If I'm buying something and it's on a client's behalf, I can assign it to that person. Let's say ABC Core. And then if I have any projects that I'm working on, like again, say I'm making a deck for them, I can say, go to the project, choose which project this expense is for, and away you go. So in this case, I'm not going to assign it. And attach image of receipt. So for your own records, if you want to keep a receipt image along with the expense just for tracking, or if you're going to rebuild this back to a client and they want a copy of the receipt, you can do that right here. So I'm going to hit add expense. And you can see right here, there's no status underneath. So it's not unbilled or billed or anything like that because I didn't assign this to a person. This is my business's expense. And here, because it's recurring, you can see when the next time it's going to come up. There you go, that is expenses. Much like anything else, again, you can archive, you can delete, you can copy these. Convert to an invoice means for the unbilled expenses, I can say, check a box beside all of them and say, okay, time to bill these, time to put these on an invoice. Another option you have over here is bank accounts. Instead of manually entering expenses, you can connect a bank account, a credit card, something like that, and automatically import your transactions. It will only import expenses. So if you deposit money into a bank account or if you pay off your credit card, money going into those accounts isn't going to show up. So it's just money coming out of your credit card or out of your bank account. If you don't see this option, this is only available for those in the US and Canada. Everyone everywhere has the option to file import. So if you can't find your bank or if you're in a place in the world that isn't North America, you can see a sample. So download this. You need to have a CSV file and it has to be formatted in a certain way. The sample will show you how it needs to look. And then you can import it from here. And next, we have time tracking. So this is for those who charge for their time by the hour, or say just internal tracking. You want to see how much time do I spend on administrative tasks? How much time do I spend traveling? You can do that from here. So the very first thing you see, timesheet, this is your master calendar. This is you. This will be empty to begin with because you need to make a project. So I've got one project so far, but let's say I'm making a brand new project. I can go here, give it a name, pick who it's for. If you pick no one, it's internal. So this is where you can track what am I doing with my time for my business, how much time do I spend traveling, etc. Or perhaps it's for Candy Core. You choose how you want to bill Candy Core. So it can be hourly task rate. So each task has its own rate. It can be hourly project rate. So no matter what's happening, who's tracking time to this project or what they are doing, it is always a certain rate. Flat amount, which is, hey, this project, I'm going to charge $5,000, the end. And that's what you can do. Or hourly staff rate. If you have set up a contractor or a staff member like we talked about before, each of you can have a different rate. So I'm going to go with hourly task rate since it's just me on this project. Time estimate is a bit of a time budget. So if you say, hey, I think this project is going to take 50 hours, great, you can put that in there. 50 hours. And then here you can see all of the different rates now have different rates beside them. If there's some some tasks on there that you don't need, for instance, fighting crime, probably not going to happen on this project, nor will massaging. And I've got several different travel times on here. I'm going to delete 2 of those. And there you go. And you can manually put in different rates for these. Team members, if you see just me because I don't have any staff members or contractors applied, but you can click here and say there is somebody that you want to work with you. Hunter's going to be working with me on this, so is Bob, and away you go. Hit save. And so now when you look at your project list, you see the 2 projects there, Candy Core, there's the name of my project, and there's my time estimate. So I haven't tracked any time to Candy Core yet, but there it is. Tasks, that's where all of that big list of different things that I do came from. So if I wanted to, I say, oh, hey, I got a bunch of travel times in there. They're a bit redundant. You can delete them. I'm going to keep piano lessons. And this is also where you can hit edit and say, edit the rate for that task, edit the name, whatever you want to do. Team timesheets. This is your master calendar for everyone. So you can see the whole list of all your staff and contractors here, what time they've done for this week or for this month. If you want to filter it, you can say, hey, I want to see what staff A has been up to. And you'll see everything that they're doing on this calendar. I'm going to go for the whole team here. And then underneath, say if I had time tracked for this day, you'd see a list of it here. So if I wanted to, I'm going to track some time. So let's say today, Candy Core, I did some work for you. I was doing some phone shadowing, and I did it for 2 hours. And you can see that down here. And so here I can edit that if there's any notes I want to add in or say, oops, I did it for 3 hours, not 2. You can also delete this time entry, and beware before the delete button in many other places means inactive. In this case, it really does mean delete. So if you delete this time entry, it's actually gone. So be aware of that. You can also mark it as billed. If you can say, oops, you know what, I'm retroactively putting in this time. I actually already billed for this. You can mark it as billed. And if even that was a mistake, you can say, oops, actually I didn't bill for this time. Unbilled. And there you go. And you can see that over on the master timesheet as well. So right here, there's my time. I'm the owner of the account. My time is going to show up on this calendar as well. When you're ready, you can generate an invoice. And so this is where life gets much friendlier. So date range, optional. It'll pull in all the time entries if you don't specify a date range. You can say who it's for. Candy Core, I've got 2 hours there. Let's do ABC Core actually. And if they have several different projects, you'll see the list. In this case, I've only got one. And then here you have a few different views. So detailed means they see everything. And you can filter that here. So team member, I'm the only person working on this project. I don't think they need my name on it. You can have the project name, the task name, etc. Unbilled expenses for this client. At the same time that you're making this invoice for their time, you can make an invoice that pulls in their expenses as well. So I'm gonna do that, but first I'll show you grouped. Grouped means you're mashing everything together under a certain name. So you can say everything that is under the project name, or the task name, or the date range. Single line means every single time entry gets mashed into one single line. You're just saying, hey, I worked all of this time. Here's my flat $300 I want for it. So in this case, I'm going to go for detailed. And I'm going to create my invoice. And here we go. So I have a lot of expenses for this person. And here you can see I've got the task name, the project name, the date, my notes, etc. So you can see I've got a bit of a credit left over for this person. I want to apply the remainder of that credit. I want to enable them paying me online. And I'm going to send this email. And again, it's going to show me a preview. Send invoice. And you'll see a new status on this one. So because I applied a credit, some of this invoice has been paid off, but not all of it, partial. So there we go. And again, there's my invoice autobiography. So the very last one to look at is reports. And there's lots of reports to choose from. So these are the first page you see is the most popular reports. These are the ones people most likely to use. But there's also more options over here. Accounting reports around tax time. These will be very useful for you. Client reports if you want to see who hasn't paid you, who needs to pay you. Invoice reports, item sales, that sort of thing. So you can explore these at your leisure. They're all terribly useful. And that is all the functional parts of FreshBooks. Now how to set it up a little bit. There's a few places that you'll want to take a look at. Settings. When we made our invoices, this is what appeared up at the top left. So here's my business name, here's my address. Whatever you want to appear on your invoices, it's pulling from here. So if you prefer not to share your business address, you can leave this area blank. For default reasons, it is going to want to know what country you're in and also what province or state, depending on where you are in the world. Email address. So this is the reply address for emails. So when your clients receive an invoice from FreshBooks, if your client hits reply, it's not going to come back to us. It's going to come back to this address. Phone numbers. This isn't going to appear on your invoices, but useful to have. Time zone, that sort of thing. So I'm going to hit save. If you want to accept credit cards, we mentioned online payments a few times, so you can set that up right here. Taxes. Again, if you charge taxes for your services, you can come here to the settings and set that up one by one, or you can do it from the invoice level, as you saw a moment ago. Colors and logos, again, instead of dragging and dropping right here, you can come to this tab, put it in, change whatever you need to change. Template, there's two different options. There's the clean and there's the classic. So I'll show you, you've seen what the classic looks like a couple times now. I'll show you what clean looks like in a moment. If you want text below your logo, some people choose to put their phone number or email address or website. Maybe you have a tagline of some kind for your business that will appear right underneath your invoice. And then how do you bill? So you can see I set mine to only bill for my time. If you do both, if you sell objects and you bill by the hour, that can happen. Or maybe you just sell t-shirts or you sell objects. Either way. And then column headings, this is where you can change the name for what you see on your invoice and on your estimates. Labels, same thing, event title, invoice title, we've made it event, credit title, same credit. This is all what your clients will see on their side. So I'm going to hit save on this. And then permissions, we mentioned this before. So with your staff, because they have access to your account, you can filter what they see. So maybe your staff members, all you want them to see are the people, you want them to be able to make invoices for those people, and you want them to track time for those people. They don't need to see reports, so you don't want to share your finances with them. Maybe your staff members need to log some expenses for you, so you can make that tab available to them. So you can filter what your staff see or don't see. This doesn't apply to your contractors because your contractors don't have access to your account. Then here, this is again filtering for your staff members, whether your staff can create projects to track time to, if they're allowed to send invoices or just view them. So this is a place that you can explore. For your clients, they will see something similar to your account, but again, you filter what your clients see. So when you email them in something from FreshBooks, they get a link to view your invoice or estimate. And so once they click through to view their invoice, all they're going to see are invoices, their invoices. They won't see estimates or projects or anything like that. If you email a link to an estimate, you may want to make estimates available to them. That is terribly useful. If you don't want to allow your clients to dispute your invoices, if you don't want them to be able to talk back and forth with you, uncheck that, etc. So this is something you can explore. Emails, this is where you set up all those default emails to your clients. So for instance, payment notifications. I mentioned that when you enter a payment, you can check a little box and your clients will get a payment notification. This is what it looks like. So online payments, that's if your client pays you by PayPal or by credit card, you can enable this, that yes, my clients will get an email, and then you can filter what they see. So you can write in your own note, you can leave this as is, these : invoice number : that's a dynamic variable. And so that means it'll get filled in when the invoice goes out, or sorry, when the email goes out. So if you made invoice 123 and you put a payment on invoice 123, that's what this area will say when your client gets it. Other payments, this is when you enter in a check or cash or bank transfer, whatever. So you would have to enable that, same thing. You can edit the invoice. So I'm going to get out of here, and that goes for everything here. So late payment reminders, if you want to enable that, you check this little box, say how many days you want to go out, enter in whatever message you want to go out to them, and you can send out up to 3 reminders at intervals of your choice. Only 3 will go out. We can't do more than 3, so hopefully your clients aren't that forgetful. And then here, email signature. Every time you send an invoice or an estimate, this is what will show at the bottom. I'm obviously a fan of George Carlin. There you go. And then emails for you. FreshBooks can also email you when something happens on your account. So when a payment is received, maybe my client pays me by PayPal, as soon as that goes through, FreshBooks will send me an email saying, hey, you just got paid, which is a really nice feeling. When a late payment reminder is feeling, not a great feeling, but when a late payment reminder is sent to my client, I would want to know. I want to know when my clients are late. So there you go. And you can also have a weekly account summary. So that means every Sunday you'll get an email saying, here's how much money came in, here's how much money was spent, here's how your business is doing right now. And then we have one last tab, Miscellaneous, which is exactly as it sounds like. There's just, a bunch of stuff that didn't come up somewhere else. Lines per page, this is how many invoices or clients or whatever are going to show up on a page. You can make this up to 100 if you want. Date format, North America, we really like having the month first, but you can also change it to having day or year. Direct links, yeah, super important. Unless you're planning on making invoices and downloading them as a PDF, you need to enable the links so your clients can click through to view their invoices. FreshBooks branding, that happens at the bottom of the invoices. You can disable it if you'd prefer not to. Requesting review from your clients. I have that disabled, but you can enable that, and that means once every 6 months, when you send your client an invoice, they'll automatically have a little pop-up saying, hey, what did you think of this person's service? And recurring invoices right here, we saw how to set that up and how to set the schedule. I have it set to send automatically. And I really like that. I'm a forgetful person. If you disable this, that means the invoice will be made, it'll be created, but it'll be a draft in your invoices tab. And that means when you go to that tab, you can look it over, manually hit send yourself. And then apply credit automatically means if your client has a credit on file and you make an invoice for them and it's sent out, the credit will automatically apply itself to any invoice. And there you go. I'm going to hit save. And just one last time, I'm going to take you to invoices because we changed the template. I want you to see what that looks like. And this is an old one. So let's make a new invoice. We won't put anything on it. Let's hit save as draft. And let's take a look. And so this is where that business information is. Here's my logo and my text underneath. And then here's the layout of what that clean template looks like. All right, so that is everything. You have now been walked through FreshBooks Classic. That is just about all of it. If anyone ever has any questions about FreshBooks Classic, you can give us a call. Again, that number is 1-866-303-6061, or you can email us at support@freshbooks.com, and we can walk you through anything here in Classic. So everybody have a great day.